What if the loudest voice in Hollywood decided to whisper? Not retire. Not confess. Just lower the volume until the whole industry had to lean in to hear. They say every legend has a last line. Samuel L. Jackson never believed that. He never needed a last line. He had a look, a pause, a pulse that could stop a room. But lately the rooms feel different. The energy is there, the grin is there, the myth is there, and yet something hangs in the air like a withheld punchline. People keep asking, what changed? No scandal. No meltdown. No tabloid earthquake. Only the kind of silence that makes even the spotlight feel nervous. He appears, and the oxygen shifts. He waves, and the cameras flood. He speaks, and you remember why the world started quoting him in the first place. But between those moments, in the negative space, lives a new story with no names, no dates, just a question big enough to swallow the noise. What happens when the man who can say anything chooses not to? This isn't about an announcement. It isn't about an ending. It's about the briefest flicker you can miss if you blink, the sense that a man who has told every kind of story is finally keeping one for himself. Fans don't like that. Studios don't like that. Mystery is bad for planning, great for legend. There were hints, if you knew where to look. A red carpet smile that lingered a second too long. A press junket where he said less and meant more. A midnight photo, cap pulled low, city lights behind him, the caption just 3 words, a still not done. No emoji. No hashtags. Just a promise with edges. And then came the rumor you can't confirm because it doesn't want to be confirmed, that somewhere between the sets and the suits and the scripts with his name already printed bold on page 1, Samuel L. Jackson started curating his noise. Choosing his thunder. Saving the lightning. Not for a comeback. Not for a farewell. For something else. Something people stopped believing exists in public life. Private meaning. Theories multiply because they have to. His writing a book. His building a role that will reverse every role. His crafting a character with no catchphrase, no boom, just that razor-wire presence, sharpened to a whisper. His teaching a masterclass at 3 a.m. To no one but himself, how to remove everything that isn't necessary and leave only the truth. You can feel it in the way interviewers lean forward now, hunting the clip, begging the moment to turn viral. He smiles, lets the silence grow, then drops a sentence like a trapdoor, clean, controlled, devastating. The headline writes itself, but the meaning slides past the cursor and vanishes before you can post. That's the trick. That's the game. He's no longer performing for volume, he's performing for echo. People forget. Icons don't shout because they're loud. Icons shout because they can afford to be quiet. Remember the first time you heard him? Not the line, the charge. The feeling that the scene had just grown teeth. Somewhere deep in the edit you could hear directors exhale. There it is. That's the take. For years the world trained itself to wait for the spike, the snap, the strike, the signature. But spikes are easy. Silence is hard. And lately, his silence is ruthless. Backstage, someone asks for the secret. He laughs. The kind of laugh that says the secret isn't hidden, it's obvious. Pick your moment. Then make the moment pick you back. What does that even mean? Exactly. You'll replay it, quote it, argue about it, and miss the point. He's moving the conversation without touching it. Meanwhile, the calendar turns. Premieres blur. Streams refresh. Clips accumulate and evaporate in the same hour. Yet his gravity remains, like a name etched in glass that the rain can't reach. Every time the culture decides it's time to replace him with whatever's next, a new next arrives and accidentally proves why he isn't replaceable. Not because he's louder, because he's clearer. You want the inside story? Here it is. There is no inside story. There's a door with his initials on it, and a sign that reads working. That's the headline nobody clicks. That's the headline that explains everything. There are whispers of a role everyone says doesn't exist, the role that isn't a franchise, isn't a reboot, isn't a multiverse of multiverse. A role with no costume and no safety net. The rumor goes like this: he's stripping it all down to the pores before the line, the breath before the choice, the gaze that rearranges the room. No blast. No blood. Just command. Will you see it? That's the other rumor. Maybe you won't. Maybe it's a limited run in a theater with too few seats and too many people at the door pretending not to look nervous. Maybe it's a voice slipped into a story at the exact point the story forgets it needs one. Maybe it's a cameo in a life you forgot was yours. Ask around. Everyone swears they know what's next. No one does. That's the point. Some nights, if you're lucky, you'll catch him crossing a street with the city shining like an audience that finally learned how to listen. No entourage. No signal. Just a hat, a coat, a pace that refuses to hurry. He stops at the corner, looks left, looks right, looks inward. The light changes. He moves. The moment ends, and if you blink, you miss the entire thesis. He's not chasing the spotlight. He's teaching the spotlight where to stand. This is not a comeback trailer. This is not a farewell letter. This is a recalibration in real time, a legend deciding that the loudest thing he can do now is deny you the noise you came for, and offer something better, tension you can't skip. You want the reveal? Here it is, half a heartbeat before you can screenshot it. He never needed permission to be inevitable. There's a room in Hollywood that doesn't exist on any map. No address. No doorbell. No key. But everyone swears they've been inside. It's the room where careers are born, deals are whispered, and legacies are rewritten under the hum of too much air conditioning. And lately, everyone says the same thing. Samuel L. Jackson was here, but he left something behind. Nobody knows what. A script? A name? A warning? Whatever it was, people keep returning, hoping to find it again. That's how myths start, not with truth, but with repetition. The rumor began one late night in a Burbank studio. A young assistant, too new to be scared, found an empty chair with his name taped to the back. She swore she saw a single note written on the seat. They'll remember how you made them wait. She took a picture. The photo vanished from her phone the next day. By morning, the message had already evolved. Now there were 2 notes, 3 sightings, 5 versions of the story. Asterisk. Someone claimed he left it as advice for a new actor. Someone else said it was a joke. But the truth is simpler. He's been teaching silence in a city addicted to noise. In a culture of endless premieres, he stopped appearing at his own. He started showing up unannounced at small indie screenings, sitting in the back row, hood pulled low. Sometimes he'd leave before the credits rolled. Sometimes he'd stay until the janitors turned the lights on. No one ever caught him on camera. But every time he left, something strange happened. The directors he watched suddenly went viral. The films they made, ignored for months, exploded on streaming. Coincidence? Maybe. But then again, maybe not. Every time he watches, the algorithm blinks, one producer joked. The line stuck. Because in 2025, the algorithm is God, And even God flinches when Samuel L. Jackson moves. People forget that long before the franchise suits and the Marvel cameos, before the memes and the monologues, there was a man who didn't think he'd make it past 30. Addiction. Poverty. Obscurity. He was a whisper in a world that only listened to screams. He clawed out of it not by shouting, but by aiming his noise precisely. Every curse word, every explosion, every glare had purpose. The chaos was calculated. The anger was architecture. And maybe that's what he's doing again, rebuilding himself, frame by frame, until the audience realizes they've been watching the setup for a twist they'll never see coming. People think he's slowing down. He's not. He's compressing. The way a star collapses into itself before becoming something infinite. You can see it in interviews, the smile that hides a blueprint. When a journalist asks him about retirement, he tilts his head like a lion pretending not to hear. Retirement from what? He says. I haven't even started the good part yet. The crowd laughs. The clip trends. But listen carefully, he never laughs with them. He's not joking. Every industry needs one man who refuses to play by the algorithm. Every myth needs one silence that hums louder than the music. And every generation needs one face that reminds them, cool isn't a look, it's timing. Jackson has turned timing into religion. He knows exactly how long to let you wait before giving you what you didn't know you wanted. It's why every director still calls. It's why every studio still bets on him. It's why every young actor, no matter how viral, still hopes he'll look their way once, just once, and nod. Because that nod means you exist. There's a theory among editors that the secret to great cinema isn't action, it's restraint. You cut away right before the punch lands. You leave the sound hanging half a second too long. You let the viewer fill in the rest. That's what he's doing now, cutting his own life in real time. A living edit. A masterclass in withholding. The audience can't stand it. They want the scandal, the confession, the revelation that justifies their obsession. But he refuses. He gives them tension instead. And tension, as it turns out, lasts longer than truth. So they wait. For the announcement. For the project. For the big thing everyone says is coming. But maybe it's already here, the waiting is the thing. He said something recently, almost offhand, during a charity gala that no one was supposed to record. They call it a career. I call it an audition that never ended. The crowd laughed, thinking it was modesty. But if you replay the clip, you'll notice something strange. He didn't smile. He didn't blink. He just looked out at the audience like a man who already knew how the next scene would end, and was choosing not to spoil it for anyone else. The room in Hollywood still doesn't exist. And everyone still swears they've been inside. Because that's what he does best, makes you feel like you're part of something you can't quite touch. The door everyone knocks on? He built it. He locked it. And now, he's waiting to see who knocks twice. Some say the sound came first. Before the line, before the glare, before the explosion of syllables that turned Samuel L. Jackson into an adjective, there was the sound. A rhythm. A pulse. Something halfway between jazz and thunder. Even now, you can hear it in his voice, that low hum that makes the air vibrate before he even speaks. It's not volume. It's control. He could make a whisper feel like a gunshot. He could make an insult sound like prophecy. And lately, he's been letting that sound fade, not disappear, but wait. Every few months, a headline tries to catch up with him. A Samuel L. Jackson's final role? Jackson's secret project revealed. Every time, it's the same disappointment. An interview, a tease, a quote that feels like it's about to reveal everything, until it doesn't. Because that's the trick. He's not hiding the truth. He's rationing it. The industry doesn't know how to deal with that. They're used to urgency, to leaks, to trailers, to endless noise. But he's rewired the machine, one line, one glance, one pause at a time. A producer described it best. He's turned anticipation into a weapon. You can feel it even when he walks into a room, not the arrival, but the delay before he speaks. People hold their breath. He smiles. The world stays suspended. That moment, that invisible heartbeat before the storm, has become his masterpiece. Behind the cameras, something else is happening. He's been spotted in strange places, recording studios at 2 a.m., abandoned theaters in Louisiana, small jazz clubs in Harlem. No press. No entourage. Just him, sitting in the back, listening to other people perform. Sometimes he gets on stage. Doesn't sing. Doesn't read. Just talks. About nothing. About everything. People record it, post it online, and it always goes viral, not because of what he says, but because it feels like he's about to say something that'll change the world. And then he doesn't. He smiles, steps down, and disappears again. That's the new addiction, the almost. He's turned the almosty into art. Because the world today doesn't wait. It scrolls. It skips. It clicks away before meaning has time to load. But Samuel L. Jackson has made waiting sacred again. He's reintroduced suspense to a culture that lost patience. Even his silence has fans now. One journalist tried to corner him, asking, "What are you working on? Why so secretive?" He grinned, "If I told you, you'd move on." That's the line that broke the internet. Because he's right. People don't want stories. They want reveals. He's giving them the opposite: mystery without payoff, tension without release. And somehow, that's more satisfying than closure. The rumors keep mutating. Some say he's writing a film that never ends, a loop that starts in silence and ends in applause that fades before you hear it. Others think he's producing a one-man play where he never shows up, and the audience waits for hours while a voice overhead keeps promising, "He'll be here soon." It sounds absurd. But that's how you know it's possible. Because absurdity is his natural element, a storm of charisma wrapped around a center of absolute calm. A younger actor once said, being near him feels like being near lightning that's decided not to strike, yet. That's exactly it. He's become the tension itself. He's stopped performing for reaction and started performing for memory. He's sculpting time. And time listens to him. Meanwhile, the internet keeps watching. Clips, edits, theories, think pieces, all circling around a man who refuses to explain. And through it all, he keeps moving, quieter than ever, louder than anyone. They call it mystery. He calls it discipline. Because the real noise doesn't come from shouting. It comes from knowing exactly when to stop. One night, at an after-party no one was supposed to film, someone asked him why he's pulling away from fame. He laughed, that deep, rolling laugh that always sounds like it knows too much. "I'm not pulling away," he said. "I'm pulling focus." The quote hit like lightning, clean, sharp, true. Because that's what he's been doing all along. Not disappearing. Sharpening. Waiting. The sound is still there, you just haven't earned the next note yet. There's a certain kind of silence that only follows legends, not because they've gone quiet, but because the world finally has nothing left to say. Samuel L. Jackson is living in that silence now. He wears it like a tailored suit. You can see it on his face, the calm of a man who has survived every script ever written for him, the one about fame, the one about failure, the one about being replaced, forgotten, remixed, replayed. His outlasted all of it. But the world still wants the next act. And he knows it. At a private event in New York, a fan stood up and shouted, "Say the line." That one line that turned him from actor to myth. He looked up slowly, smiled, and said, "You already did." The crowd froze. The quote went viral before the applause even started. That's the thing about him. He doesn't give you the performance you expect. He gives you the mirror you deserve. He's the reflection of every fan who ever thought they knew what cool looked like. And now, he's teaching everyone what grace looks like. Rumor has it he turned down 3 blockbuster scripts in the past year. When asked why, he said, they all end the same way, with noise. Instead, he's building something smaller. Something no one will see until it's too late to market it. A few people claim his writing. Others say he's directing something under a pseudonym, a film that's more like a confession, something about sound and silence and the spaces between them. One producer swore he saw the footage. It's just him sitting in a chair, looking straight into the camera. No words. No cuts. Just him. And you can't look away. It wouldn't be the first time he changed the rules. He did it in Pulp Fiction when he made stillness more dangerous than action. He did it in Unbreakable when he turned fragility into power. He did it in Django Unchained when he became the villain nobody wanted to admit they understood. And now he's doing it again, with nothing but presence. He's not fading. He's refining. The curtain isn't closing. It's being held open until we learn to watch properly. One late-night host tried to press him. "Come on, Sam, there has to be a next big thing. Everyone's waiting." He grinned. Then let them wait. That's the big thing. The audience laughed. He didn't. You can tell when he's thinking because the air changes, like the universe leans forward to hear him decide. That's the secret nobody teaches in acting schools. He doesn't fill the silence. He commands it. Every role since has been an echo of that idea. Less movement, more weight. Less sound, more signal. It's not retirement. It's revolution disguised as rest. And then came the postcard story. A fan posted an image of a postcard supposedly sent by him. No return address, just a few words written in sharp black ink. "You'll understand when it's quiet again." The handwriting matched. Or maybe it didn't. It didn't matter. Because in that moment, the internet exploded. Theories, analyses, edits. Was it a teaser? A goodbye? A marketing trick? It was none of those. It was exactly what it looked like. A man who'd spent 40 years talking to the world, finally speaking through it instead of to it. You can almost imagine him, sitting alone on some balcony in New Orleans, the hum of the city below, a jazz trumpet somewhere in the distance, his head pulled low. He doesn't need the world to listen anymore. He just wants it to breathe. Because that's the real twist. All this time, we thought he was the storm. He was the rhythm. And the rhythm never ends, it just waits for the next bar. He told a friend recently, everybody thinks I'm slowing down. I'm just moving in a different time signature." That's not retirement. That's jazz. The curtain isn't falling. It's waving, like a flag, like a warning, like a man who refuses to give you an ending because the silence after him is part of the show. It's strange how quiet the world gets when a man stops competing with it. For decades, Samuel L. Jackson was the noise, the crack of lightning in every film, the pulse behind every quote. But now the quiet follows him like applause that refuses to fade. He walks through airports, through cities, through memories, and you can feel the air shift, not because he's famous, but because he's finished running. There's no chase left. No role to outdo. No script big enough to contain what happens when a man stops performing and starts being. You can see it in his eyes now, that steady calm of someone who has survived the myth of himself. The world gave him 1,000 faces. He gave the world one truth: I am still here. And here he is enough. Someone once asked him what legacy means. He paused, took off his glasses, and said, "It's what people say when they forget you're still alive." The room laughed, but he didn't. He looked out the window and smiled like a man who had already forgiven the noise. That's the secret nobody tells you about success. It doesn't end when the crowd leaves. It ends when you stop needing them to. He spends more time at home now. Quiet mornings, sunlight through curtains, coffee gone cold because he's too busy thinking. Sometimes, he flies out to a set for a few days. Sometimes, he just drives with no music on, no destination in mind. And somehow, that's when he feels most in control, when nothing demands him to be Samuel L. Jackson, capital letters included. In one interview, when the topic of fame came up again, he said something so simple it almost slipped past unnoticed. I stopped trying to be iconic. I started trying to be present. That's when you realize the whole story isn't about silence or mystery. It's about evolution. He isn't vanishing. He's changing frequency. When he does appear, people still freeze. He doesn't need introductions anymore. He just arrives. And that arrival, even in a whisper, still feels like thunder. The power was never in the line, or the voice, or the anger. The power was always in the pause, the second before the storm. That's where he lives now. There are still rumors, of course. There always will be. That he's writing a memoir called The Spaces Between Words. That he's filming a project under a false name. That he's mentoring young actors on how to control a room with a breath. Maybe all of it's true. Maybe none of it is. But the real story isn't what he's doing. It's what he's teaching by doing it, that you don't have to shout to be remembered. You just have to mean it. If you listen closely, you'll notice something. The world doesn't sound the same anymore. It's slower. Softer. As if it learned rhythm from him, the art of tension, release, stillness. Because that's what he left behind. Not a catchphrase. Not a brand. A tempo. The rhythm of a man who refused to end where the script told him to. He said once, long ago, every story has an ending. That doesn't mean it has to stop. Maybe that's the message in all the waiting, the whispering, the vanishing. It never stopped. It just became quieter, clearer, more human. So when people ask, where is Samuel L. Jackson now? Tell them this. He's in the space between moments, in the stillness before applause, in the rhythm of your heartbeat when the screen fades to black. He's not gone. He's mastered the art of enough. And that's the last trick of the legend, not how loud he could be, but how gracefully he could let go. Because somewhere in that quiet, he's still watching, still building, still waiting for the world to catch up to his silence. He doesn't need the echo anymore. He outlived it. If this story moved you, don't look for him. Just pause. Take a breath. And listen. That faint vibration in the air. That's him, still teaching the world how to make thunder without a sound.